It's been about a month since my last Sea of Thieves mystery report, and with Rare's release of the content roadmap video on April 13th, I felt it was a good time for another video. Unfortunately, there hasn't been anything significantly new with the game, so in this video, I'm going to reflect on how I feel about the game post-release, mention some new lore-related discoveries from the art book, talk about the content roadmap, and end by visiting a few features of the game most likely to lead us into mystery territory. So this last month has been an emotional trip for fans of the Sea of Thieves. Not only did the game officially release, but we already have 50 or more pirate legends. We also saw the entirety of the quest for the Golden Bananas contest, but I'd like to dedicate an entire video to just the contest when they release the video of the Phase 3 winners. I'm close to having 130 hours spent playing this game. I absolutely love it, and most of my time is spent just in a solo sloop taking in the sights and the sounds. I find it to be kind of therapeutic. I'll just lose myself in the atmosphere and occasionally turn on a podcast or a stream quietly in the background. I've even had some great one-on-one conversations with random people in a two-person sloop. The game is pretty magical like that. Sadly, it seems the game at launch disappointed some people too. There's a whole lot of highly vocal, disapproving opinions floating around the internet, as I'm sure you're all aware. We all had our own hopes and dreams for what direction an open-world pirate game would go, and I got lucky that Rare's vision for the game is very closely aligned with my own. They're taking a lot of risks with this game, and I love that. So, I'm going to begin by making some updates to things that I talked about in my previous video. Lucky 13 was indeed part of the banana contest as predicted. No Lemons Atoll was the answer they were looking for, but nothing regarding Pandora or Old Faithful Isle though. Speaking of Old Faithful, you can no longer glitch through the strange rock wall. I guess the devs were onto us the whole time. I'm still hopeful that the island leads to something though. We got our first glimpse inside the legendary pirate hideout named Athena's Fortune. Sadly though, there wasn't much there. Currently it's just another outpost, but with a ghostly theme and some nice music. Blind Bob from the Golden Bananas contest is there telling jokes. It's the first time we've seen the Pirate Lord in-game. A placeholder ship can be seen docked out here. There's also a new legendary chest. It's all very much a work in progress, just like the rest of the game. I did notice a couple interesting details though. Currently players are unable to sail their ship in or out of the hideout, so we still don't know what island houses this hideout. However, we do see a waterfall inside the island, meaning that whatever island contains the hideout doesn't necessarily need to have a visible waterfall on the outside, since there's already one on the inside. Another interesting detail is that the ceiling of the hideout is actually open to the sky. We can see birds and trees up there. I've been to every island in the game and none have a hole that opens into a cavern like this. I'm beginning to think they're just going to have you teleport in and out, like maybe through a portal in the center of the map? I don't know. Well, you already enter the hideout by using a portal that's hidden under every tavern, so a teleporting ship isn't all that crazy of a theory. You use a special legendary shanty to open up a tunnel to the portal, and the shanty sounds amazing by the way. It gave me chills the first time I heard it. I learned a new detail regarding the central uncharted region of the world. Previously, I speculated that this area was considered part of the Ancient Isles, but after a GDC 2018 talk, art director Ryan Stevenson described the world as this.
So for those of you that don't know, Sea of Thieves is separated into 3 zones, and there are there's actually 4 different lighting zones within the world. There's a central neutral one.
So it's split into 4 parts, with the central being its own region. After I heard him say this, it suddenly occurred to me that the Merchant Alliance emblem actually depicts the world as 3 parts with a dot in the middle, meaning 4. During the recently released content roadmap video, Joe Neat directly acknowledged these islands and hinted towards how they plan on using them.
We've got this beautiful world to explore, and arguably there's not enough reasons and motivations to really go out and explore, and people find these amazing underwater caverns or underwater ruins or hidden caves and stuff. And you know, it's really fun to go and find that.
I'll discuss this video in more detail at the end of the video. The Tales from the Sea of Thieves book officially released. We learned a few details about the game's world, including the existence of a cursed chest that may or may not look like this one, which in the story was passed around, caused a ship to sink, and eventually was tossed into the sea after a kraken kept attacking the ship that had it aboard. The book seems to allude to the fact that the kraken was attracted to this chest, but there's no proof of this chest existing in the game, so maybe we'll see it later? The Sea of Thieves comic covered a few subjects that I talked about in my last video, including the Devil's Shroud. I theorized that this was the name of the mermaid curse, citing a bunch of different reasons why, but it seems that it's actually the red fog that surrounds the Sea of Thieves. Everyone fears it because it destroys your ship. However, they hint that a legendary pirate once passed through it unharmed. So there's definitely a larger world outside the Sea of Thieves from a lore perspective. However, this doesn't totally disprove my theory about it being connected to the merpeople. It's described as having unusual effects on anything that it touches, so it could still be related to why they exist. I managed to get my hands on the art book, which is an amazing book, by the way. I learned a few details. For one, Devil Rays confirmed. I was right. And also, in this particular concept image, you can see some of the underwater ruins here on the left. These are the same ones that we see around the shipwrecks, and now we have them in the same image along with some mer people. More proof that the mer folk populate this region. Some other images show how they hang out on rocks, performing rituals, and how interrupting one of them could have, quote, dire consequences. This image here talks about Mermaid's Hideaway, which is an island in the game with a cool underwater area, but the description here also sounds an awful lot like one of the Uncharted Isles, calling it a secret, nondescript island providing an entrance to their kingdom. Maybe the merpeople have an entire kingdom somewhere and we've only seen the entrance so far. For a while, the developers were considering adding a potion shop to the game, which actually does exist in the game right now, but it's all boarded up and empty. The Order of Souls tent resides underneath it between the supports, so maybe we'll see it open up later. Maybe it could be used for something else? Here we see some early concept images that depict the world outside of the Ferry of the Damned, and it looks pretty damn awesome. I wonder if they'll revisit this concept later. The content roadmap video might have referenced this region, we'll see. And here we see that they actually toyed with the idea of the edge of the world simply being a drop-off into nothingness. And finally we have Krakens. The one currently in the game doesn't appear to be shown anywhere in the book, but we see a lot of incredible concepts, and given that this was talked about in the content roadmap video, I think there's a high chance we may see some of these in the future. A lot of attention was put towards this particular design. We see depictions of this design all throughout the game, in the form of a ship wheel, a drum, a shop design, and the bones of this creature are littered all around the sea and on land. However, the tentacles that we fight in the Kraken encounter in the game do not match this concept. Speaking of threatening AI, I'd like to finally talk about the content roadmap video. You can find thousands of other videos that detail everything that was brought up, so I want to just focus on a few key places. The Hungering Deep, which is an update that launches in May, will add what they call a new AI threat. It will require multiple crews to work together using a megaphone-like item, which I think is amazing. As someone who prefers cooperation way over PvP, whatever this creature is, it hungers, which makes me think it will eat players. Maybe it has a large mouth. Maybe something like this monster and ancient fish design. Its back looks just like the huge rocks that we see sticking out of the water. We'll hopefully know for sure in a few weeks. There's another theory floating around that the Hungering Deep may actually be referring to the Mer people. We saw several cave paintings that show the Mer people drawing pirates underwater, so maybe it's the Mer people that are the ones that hunger for unsuspecting victims. This summer, we're supposed to get an update called Cursed Sails, which is going to add a new type of ship, new ways of operating as a crew, and another AI threat, which is supposed to be drastically different than the previous one. There's another summer update planned that's called Forsaken Shores, which is going to add a whole new area to explore and is said to be more perilous than anything that we've seen so far. The name makes me think of that early concept of the world that exists outside of the Ferry of the Damned. It definitely looks perilous. And it was also said that there's going to be a new AI threat here that's described as being more fantastical than anything we've seen before. So maybe some type of ghost ship? In addition to these, there's also 3 more unannounced updates that are said to launch in the fall and winter of this year. As awesome and essential as these big updates are for the game, I'm actually more excited for the smaller, more frequent weekly events that were announced. They describe these events as playing several different roles. One is to teach players about changes that were made to the game in the form of a themed event, rather than just listing it in the patch notes. Another is to temporarily modify how faction voyages work in order to put a new twist in how you go about increasing your rank and earning gold. But the role that excites me the most was described like this.
We've got this beautiful world to explore, and arguably there's not enough reasons and motivations to really go out and explore, and people find these amazing underwater caverns or underwater ruins or hidden caves and stuff. And you know, it's really fun to go and find that, but then it's like you kind of feel like you should be getting a reward for going there, right? So introducing like a hidden treasures event where like an NPC will tell you maybe they've lost some stuff in the world or someone's stolen it. You've got to go out and find it, and gives you that real reason to explore the world, find these treasures.
Yeah, maybe bring areas of the game that haven't been into play really yet. Like we've got this beautiful underwater world, and like you say, there's the reefs and there's those little rock structures below the waves. And I think bringing those areas of the game into play more, I think that's going to be our focus going forward as well.
Yeah, and so with these events, like I think you said, but there will be rewards, there'll be custom rewards, timed things that if you go and do them during this time period, you'll get exclusive stuff, right, for players. And like when you're doing events, you'll get rewards that help you progress within those existing events too.
Rewarding exploration. The most fun I've had playing Sea of Thieves was exploring the world for the first time, seeking out all the fine details, the Easter eggs, traveling place to place, memorizing where everything is, and the idea of incentivizing this activity is extremely appealing to me. Anyone who has been a part of a video game Easter egg hunt or participated in an ARG knows how thrilling it is to discover something new about your familiar world, to put your knowledge to the test, and to share your discoveries with others. A couple examples given in the video includes an NPC-driven treasure hunt. You may have an encounter with an NPC who has special knowledge of something and sends you out to look for it. Another example involves something called skeleton thrones. These are chairs that are placed in very hard to reach locations that require precision climbing or precision cannon usage to reach. Not only does it provide you with a great photo opportunity, but it will also reward you in some way. This will encourage players to be observant and see the world in a different way, which is great. The last thing I'd like to talk about are mysterious journals and relics. In my opinion, these two things have the highest potential for mystery in the game's current state. I mean, come on, it's called a mysterious journal. They're pretty easy to find since they're usually just on a barrel or on a rock, but the spawn rate is so low that you probably haven't seen one yet. The messages they deliver are usually the final words of an ill-fated pirate and give you a random bonus quest, just like the bottled messages. Though, what makes these most interesting is how they're the perfect trailhead for a mystery. The developers could easily put whatever they want here. The mechanics are all in place, so if they decided to slip some sort of secret into the game, chances are it would start here. Already, there's a journal that has a name that's unlike the rest. It still just contained a generic bonus quest, though. The next point of interest are things referred to as relics. They're the non-chest items that you can turn into the gold hoarder. You'll get a lot of them during fort raids, but you can also come across them in the wild at random. The reason these interest me is because of a pattern I've detected in how Rare is developing this game. Throughout the beta tests, they would test fragments of planned features out of context of the complete feature. For example, during the betas, there was no sign of the Order of Souls. The NPC wasn't there, the tent was empty, so nowhere to turn in the skulls. The only way to get a bounty was through a bottle. We are given a fragment of a larger, incomplete feature. In my opinion, these relics could be exactly that, a fragment. There's a wide variety of them. Some even have names like Mysterious Vessel and Bronze Secret Keeper. One particularly weird one is the Opulent Curio. It has this large egg-shaped gem on top. Normally it looks relatively dull, like this, but during the Museum of More Pirate YouTube series put together by Rare, there's what appears to be a scripted in-engine scene that shows a whole bunch of relics in one shot. Some of these I don't believe we've ever encountered. Most interesting of all is what looks like the Opulent Curio, but it's emitting light. When you compare the one in the video with the one in the game, there's a few other subtle differences too. No other relic in the game emits light like this one does. There's also rumors of an ancient curio in the game, as well as a curio vendor. I have a strong feeling these items will have alternative uses in the near future. We shall see. Oops, I made another long video. Well, even though we only have a bunch of theories and maybes, the content roadmap video gets me very excited for the future of this game, especially the weekly events. I'm still having a lot of fun playing the game regardless. If you'd like to join other like-minded mystery enthusiasts, follow LudoCrypto on Twitter. We also have a Discord where we're currently at 230 members. Thanks for spending your time with me. I'll see you next time.